Hey, so I've received comments that the previous Murderbot Diary reviews have had the skits ruin something for the book for them. I was doing the skits to share the experience of the book with everyone, but I've heard that more people want just the review, sort of a bare bones explanation of what happens, as well as what you would want to experience from it. And I'm going to do that unless everyone in the comments says to do otherwise. I'll respond to that criticism. In book number 3, Rogue Protocol, Murderbot chooses to help humans of their own volition for the first time, as opposed to of their own circumstances, or because, in order to bring us forward, they had to team up. This marks the first time where they stumbled across a group of humans and a robot named Mickey, who I particularly like. They're an old-fashioned kind of Jetsons robot, is how I imagine them, who are just so earnest. That Jetsons isn't quite right, it's just more blocky, but I imagine Jetsons. And they form a friendship together, for lack of a better word. But on the way to gather evidence for this company, Grey Chris, to help out the humans from the first book, who Murderbot has also formed a kinship with, in a legal battle against this company, who has been doing wrongs to them for a couple books now. They stumble across this mining facility. The mining facility reactivates, and Murderbot is once again forced to use their sec unit skills to help out against these mining robots and other robots that happen to want to stop these people. And from there is a lot of reactivating the facility, a lot of problems that a security personnel would need to solve, and a lot of situations which have me recommend this to people who prefer the action genre, or even like the sci-fi military drama, even though it's not a sci-fi military, it's more of a hard sci-fi wanderer knight-errant story. I made the song at the last one comparing them to a nightmare with a lot of metal, and that's why I find each one of these books feels like a build-up to an emotional or existential crisis that is solved through mostly violence and security analytics. Actually, no, more like in solving violent problems, but not necessarily with violence. Sometimes with stealth, sometimes with hacking, and always with character. One thing that the book does very, very well is it conveys the emotional stakes and why do we care about each one of these conflicts, and how does it reflect how Murderbot is changing, as well as the people around them are changing, as well as how they're developing relationships with people, despite the fact that Murderbot is a pretty heavy introvert who doesn't want to get involved with people, yet nonetheless here they are. And I've also found that the description of the book tones down the effect of violence. So people who wouldn't normally like an extremely violent book can still enjoy this book for the pacing, for the interesting way it tells instead of shows, yet still somehow manages to make it work, and for the way that it conveys violence with not that much description, so that way you get to see like a summary of everything that happened in the fight, and yet it still keeps up the pace that keeps it interesting without seeing the viscera or the gore in the description, without making it feel like it was there. It feels like it's passing over. It feels like a robot is watching it. And if that seems right to you, every one of the Murderbot books is 150 pages. You could, depending on how fast you read, you could probably read it as fast as a movie. The first 4 books really tie into one another. I'm surprised it isn't just one long story, but released as 4 separate. I think if it was one long story, it would probably feel repetitive, but as 4 separate stories, it feels like a series really building to something. I've heard book 5 and beyond is roughly like 400, 500 pages. I haven't had a chance to read those yet, but they seem like a natural sequel that builds from these first 4 stories. And yeah, if all that seems right to you, I highly recommend the Murderbot trilogy, or quadrilogy, the 4 books of the Murderbot Diaries that started off, that are often sold as a set because they work so well together. They are very fun. I love the description. I love the feeling. It's sort of a darker, more serious tone, oddly, despite the fact that the tone is often comedic. And if that sounds right to you, I will see you the other time. If it doesn't, I'll probably still see you the other time, but later. I am the veteran of 1,000 psychic wars. My conscience, the sole survivor. Everyone else hits the floor.